The matchups are set for the college football playoff semifinal. We get Texas in there for the first time, playing Washington, who's in there for the second time. Neither of them have won a playoff game. Then you get Alabama. They've been in there 100 times. I think they've won 9 college football playoff games and probably, 3 national championships, maybe even 4 since the college football playoffs inception. And they play a team in Michigan that also hasn't won a playoff game despite being there in back-to-back seasons. Which one of these matchups are you most intrigued by going into the semifinals?
Yeah, it's really easy for me. It's the Rose Bowl. One, for the teams, the matchup, the stories, and the Rose Bowl is the greatest setting in college football. It's magical over there in Pasadena. But you got Michigan, the whole cheating scandal, all that stuff, trying to get the monkey off their back, finally win, like you said, their first playoff game. And then you got Bama, who many think shouldn't have jumped Florida State, an undefeated conference champion. And then you got Nick Saban, who, a lot of people wrote off at the beginning of the year when they ended up benching Jalen Milroe. And they thought, this guy's washed. It's Kirby Smart's country, and that's it. You got a lot of interesting storylines in that one to me. And I don't want to just come out right and say it, who I think is going to end up winning, but I do think it'll be one of those two teams. Whoever wins Michigan, Alabama is going to win that game. And I could say the same thing for the SEC championship, where Georgia or Alabama, whoever won that game was likely to go on and win the national championship. And my feelings haven't changed. I don't care that Michigan is favored by, I think it's a field goal, maybe just half a point less than a field goal. I think that Michigan hasn't played a team like Alabama. I think Ohio State was the best team that they played, and Kyle McCord, is in the transfer portal for a reason. That Ohio State, was no match for Michigan, and they, nearly lost it to Ohio State. I think I've really changed my tune on Michigan because for the longest time, they're a very well-rounded football team. They can win in multiple ways. They got a quarterback that they can lean on. Now, J.J. McCarthy isn't the best quarterback in the country, but he's certainly, up there in the upper echelon. They got a good defense, obviously the dominant running game, and they're a hard-nosed football team. Unfortunately, I've really changed my tune. I think their defense isn't as good as I once thought, especially considering the competition in which they played. The Big Ten offenses, or I think there might not be a single Big Ten offense in the top 25. I'm just making that up, but they're all terrible. I mean, they're all terrible. And on the flip side of things, Bama's defense just showed you against Georgia, who has one of a top 10 offense in this country. Bama's defense showed you just how elite they really are. Now, can Jalen Milroe do just enough like he did in the SEC championship to get the Tide to the championship game? I absolutely believe so. I've seen nothing less than, Jalen Milroe's up for the task, and I think he's going to do it with his legs once again, and Bama's defense is going to show you, just who J.J. McCarthy and that Michigan offense is, which is just, underwhelming in my opinion.
Yeah, there's just a countless number of storylines in this game, starting off with the hardball cheating scandal, starting off with Nick Saban and his success in the playoffs, particularly in semifinals games where he has all that time to prepare. Michigan in general just getting over the hump. They played TCU last year, who lost 65-7 in the championship games. They couldn't even beat TCU. Harbaugh, how long is he going to be at Michigan? We hear murmurs of him going to the NFL. I'm sure those aren't going to slow down leading into this matchup. Could he go in on top? Could he lead Michigan to a national championship and then say, all right, peace, I did my job. I'm done with all this stuff. I'm going to go back to the NFL and try to win a Super Bowl, something that also has escaped him in the past. There's a ton of things. As far as the matchup in itself, Michigan against Georgia, and maybe not so much against TCU, but they were completely out physical, and it wasn't a close game 2 years ago. How far have they come? Because we saw what Alabama could do from a physical standpoint at the line of scrimmage against another really good team. But to me, if there was ever a chance where you can finally dethrone the SEC and really dethrone Georgia or Alabama, it was this year. Georgia's coming off 2 years of losing so much talent to the NFL, new quarterback, new offensive coordinator, a ton of change going on there. Obviously, we know the struggles that Alabama has gone through this season and overcome to get to this point. But this isn't the same Alabama team that you may have faced 4 or 5 years ago. So this is a perfect opportunity in my eyes for Michigan to finally get that monkey off their back and win a big game and be a pretty significant favorite over who they play in the national championship, whether it's Texas or whether it is Washington.
Yeah, I tend to agree. This is the best opportunity. There's no arguing that this was a down year for the SEC. It's one of the worst years in recent memories, what I mean by that is in terms of a championship caliber team coming out of the conference. So yeah, you're dead on that. This is maybe the best opportunity Michigan's ever had. They have everything to fight for in terms of proving everybody wrong. The cheating allegations, they beat Penn State, they beat Ohio State without Jim Harbaugh, which is incredibly impressive in my eyes. They've answered the bell time and time again. But until they show me, I think you nailed it. Bama pushed Georgia around. And I don't see Michigan putting up much of a fight in that sense. And I think that's where this game is going to be won and lost.
And that's the thing. We always talk styles make fights. These two styles are going to clash, and it's going to be the bigger man, the stronger man, the more physical man that wins. And on the other side of the bracket, we're going to talk about after the break, it might be the complete opposite style of game.